William, you have to wake up.
What? Just give me a couple more minutes.
You have no time to waste. We have a new episode of Garden Time. Welcome to Garden Time. As you can see, we're in the lazy days of summer.
You know, it is a great time of year to go out in your hammock, in your garden, and enjoy the cool of the morning because it will get hot. And speaking of heat, on today's show, we're going to be showing you how to grill peaches.
Also coming up in the show, we'll be giving you tips about taking pictures in your garden.
But coming up first, how are you going to make some delicious chips with vegetables from your garden? So I'm standing out here with Justin, and we are at Blooming Junction. And Justin, you know, people love having healthy snacks. And when you're a gardener and you love vegetables, you can do a lot of different chips out of vegetables. But just jump me into beginning this, because how do you want to start and talk about how you make these chips?
Yeah, let's run through an example of making chips out of sweet potatoes. So we're going to use a white sweet potato here for this recipe, medium large size. And the first thing we need to do is get an even thin slice. And I have a very sharp chef knife, which I really enjoy using.
Okay.
But one of the best tools to use for this is a mandolin, because it will help get a more even slice, and that way your chips will end up crisping up at roughly the same time.
And so you really did, you peeled it off first, and then you, because you're skilled, can do it that way, but your goal is to make them as very similar as you can.
Yep,
okay.
As very similar and as thin. We're looking for like a 1/16 of an inch here. You want it as thin as you can get it without being so paper thin that you can see through it very easily. But that's kind of an ideal size and shape right there. And then for roughly a medium large size sweet potato, we're going to want to use 1 tablespoon. I like to use coconut oil, but you can also use olive oil for this, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So then we mix this up here, and at this point you can really add any other flavorings you like as well.
Define that to me. What do you mean by flavoring?
Yeah, so any kind of spices. You can make them spicy with some cayenne or chili powder.
Okay.
You could do wasabi, you could do curry, cumin. Sort of the possibilities are endless for spice flavors, and roughly 1/4 teaspoon of salt.
And so you're just kind of coating them in that bowl.
Yep, that's exactly right. And then, you know, you get a lot of these that stick together,
right.
So you really try to peel them all apart and make sure that they all get really coated well with the oil here. And at this point, we line them on. I like to use foil because I do a number of batches in a row so I can keep reusing it, but parchment paper works.
Okay.
You can generally get about 3 batches out of parchment paper. So we'll fill our sheet up, and so while we're preparing our sweet potato, we would have preheated our oven to 300 degrees.
Okay.
And now at this point, we fill our sheet up. It's ready to go in the oven. 15 minutes.
Really? That's
we pull it out, and then we want to rotate. I have an old electric oven, and so it's very uneven. So I pull it out, rotate once, 15 more minutes, and the sweet potatoes.
And by rotate, Justin, you mean just rotate
just
the
pick
pan.
it up
You're not
and turn
flipping them over. Okay.
Nope, we aren't flipping or anything. Yeah, sometimes the ones on the edges will be done first. So generally after that half an hour, most of them should be done, but some in the center may not quite have crisped up yet. So at that point, you would put it back in for usually 5 more minutes, but up to an additional 15. Just kind of checking periodically.
And then to you, done is this bowl, right? These are done.
That's correct. Yep, so you're going to see a little brown crispiness around the edge there. And they will crisp up further after they cool.
Okay.
So you should always keep that in mind. You know, you want them to be a little bit firm, but in some spots they can still be just a little soft, and that'll still crisp up as they cool down.
Now, these are a less moisture kind of edible thing, but I see over there zucchini, and is that beets?
Yep.
Those are higher moisture content. Is that different?
Yes, very different. So, well, same general idea, but what we're going to do is after we slice our beets really thinly, before we add the oil, we're going to salt them, and that's going to help them to sweat out some of the excess moisture. Then we'll line them all out flat on a paper towel or a kitchen towel and put a book or something on top of them to help draw some of that excess moisture out. Then we'll toss them in the bowl and do the exact same thing that we did here with the sweet potatoes. with the only difference being instead of a total of 30 minutes, we're going to need a total of 45 minutes.
Because it just takes longer for them to dry out.
And I also, like to keep spinning the tray every 15 minutes.
Right.
So
and then of course, I've done kale chips. I love them, so we can follow similar processes, right? Even with kale.
Absolutely. Kale is even easier, and with this one, some people like to chop it, but they even make a tool which is like a little hole like this that you can just rip your kale right through. So you can do that, but then I just, you can even just tear it right off and into 2 or 3 inch pieces. And then for one large bunch of kale like this, I would use just a little more, maybe like 1.5 to 2 tablespoons of oil. And you also want to make sure that, as we were massaging it all into each piece of the sweet potato, that you really get it into all the nooks and crannies. Because if you have just a dry piece sticking out a little bit, they can tend to burn a little more quickly than the rest. And I also like to do kale at a lower heat in the oven. I do that at 225.
And longer?
And shorter, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, it cooks really quickly. So about 15 minutes. And then I fluff it a little bit at that point, because usually anything buried or touching the pan may not cook quite as quickly. So I just kind of fluff them up and put them back in for another 5 to 10. Perfect. Usually another 5 minutes and they're done. And one other key is not to have them on top of each other really closely, to really have some separation so that they crisp
Much
up
like
more
you're laying
evenly.
out the first thing you did here was laying it out, make sure that they're all separate but equal.
Yep,
Wonderful.
exactly.
Well, there you have it. Now, you can certainly go and buy veggie chips at a store. They're not inexpensive, or you can make your own now. So for more information on this recipe, go to gardentime.tv. We'll click you over to their website. You can write it out and start making chips of your own. Justin, thank you so much. What a delight.
Yeah.
The fields are in bloom and looking beautiful.
We welcome everyone to come visit us here at Swan Island Dahlias.
Stop by Swan Island Dahlias in Canby and stroll the 40 acres of blooms. And don't forget the Dahlia Festival the last weekend in August and Labor Day weekend. During the festival, you can see over 400 cut flower displays, enjoy specialty foods, and see flower arranging demonstrations.
Swan Island Dahlias is located in Canby.
Just minutes south of Portland.
Come see us!
A destination farm and garden market featuring the very best each season has to offer. Smith Berry Barn offers seasonal farm fresh fruits and vegetables and specialty herbs and perennials. Visit the historic barn for distinctive gifts, gourmet foods, and homemade milkshakes. Right now we have fresh picked or pick your own berries ready in our fields. Here's what we have to offer this week. Centrally located off of Shoals Ferry Road between Sherwood and Hillsborough. Smith Berry Barn, growing good taste from the ground up.
Well, we all love our gardens and we love to show them off, but what about taking pictures in it or photographs? I'm with Hannah Guston and she's a professional photographer. She's going to give us some hints and tips about taking great photos in our garden. Hannah, thanks for agreeing to do this because I think we all need some help.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And whether you are an avid photographer or you just want to capture your own blooms, like when they're happening, it's good to know some certain things, good times of day and that sort of stuff in order to get the best shot possible.
Well, definitely. And I see that you have a pretty cool camera.
Yeah. And not everyone has something like this, but I do use a Nikon and I've got a lens that will let me get in nice and close to those buds or blooms. But you can even just use your phone, especially if you're out and about and don't want to carry extra lenses or a tripod or anything like that. You can still take pictures no matter what. And nowadays, phones also have the capabilities of a lot of digital cameras, shutter speed and that sort of thing.
It is true. And so really, like you said, knowing, she did this great list, knowing about your device is really important.
Absolutely. So read up your manual, get to know some of the settings, because knowing how to adjust your shutter speed, making it higher can help reduce some camera shake. So if you're photographing on a windy day, and the wind hasn't quite died down yet, you can still kind of avoid that and just sort of keep shooting through it. You can also leave your aperture wide open and get those nice sort of fuzzy backgrounds and get something kind of artsy looking.
That is fun.
Yeah.
And then what about the time of day? You kind of mentioned that. So we're in the shade right now, but is it too dark?
It's actually kind of perfect right now, even though we are past sort of a noon sort of time right now, but the best times are normally, mid-afternoon. Any earlier than that, as early as you are willing to wake up in the morning is actually better than waiting for high noon, because the sun will be at its peak and you'll get some harsh shadows if it's a bright sunny day. But depending on, sort of the look you're going for, you can also play around with the harsh shadows and you can get the petals sort of, seeing through the flower in a way. But if you want to see a nice, crisp, clear picture of your flower, overcast is the best.
So it isn't bad to be artsy. I mean, that is kind of fun.
Exactly. There are no wrong answers. It's just, you just got to know the weather and the time of day that works best for what you want.
And so where should we take pictures?
Anywhere. So whether it's your own garden or any of the flower festivals that happen kind of year-round, specific times of the year, and you want to grab some shots of flowers that you don't normally grow yourself, just bring your camera, bring your phone, bring the whole crew, and just sort of have fun with it. You can even have special permission, I believe, to get there earlier, but of course you have to pay for it.
Yeah, but that is the prime time, is when you want to go when the flowers are at their best. So in the morning, that's when we go to pick flowers, so it is a good time to go photograph them too.
Absolutely, and then you can kind of beat the crowds depending on where you're going, or just have a nice quiet morning in your own garden taking some pictures.
And then what about, sometimes I feel guilty about taking so many pictures, but really you want to get that shot, so it's not bad to keep taking them.
Absolutely, just keep going until you think you have it, and then you can always look at it later and sort of tweak it if that's your jam. And it does help to kind of take a look at, composing your shot before you actually do take it, so you can avoid overshooting if you don't want to go through so many pictures later. So kind of pick off dead leaves and that sort of thing before you take the shot.
Hannah, you've given us so much information, so maybe you can give us just a few recap tips for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So, number one, just know your equipment, whether it's a phone, DSLR, if you want to use tripods, that sort of thing. That sort of leads into point number two, know the weather for that day that you're photographing. So if it is a little windy or sunny or something like that, having a tripod for extra stabilization is helpful. Number three, just sort of keep shooting as your heart desires. Don't be afraid to kind of get a little crazy if you want some different angles. This day and age, digital allows you to take a lot of pictures. So as big as your memory card is, that's how many pictures you can take. And then number four, just go nuts. Just have fun. There are no wrong answers really.
So you heard it from an expert. She's a professional photographer. And so there are no rules. Go into your garden, have fun, go to a festival, take all the photos that you want. So if you want to contact Hannah, go to her Facebook page. It's Hannah Gustin. You can go to Garden Time and we'll click you over to that link. Thanks so much, Hannah. It's been great.
Thank you, Judy.
So several weeks ago, Judy and I did a segment on this wonderful planter called green stalk planter, and we did tell you that we'd follow up and give you some ideas of what's happened with it. But first, let's start with just the plants themselves. We filled it with basil because the producers wanted to have a whole lot of pesto. So we did that. It turned out great. They grew really well. And then on the pruning of them, though, we wanted to tell you, when you're doing basil, some people just go in and they just do this and pull the leaves off like that to use them. But we would suggest actually going in and cutting the whole thing off. Then you can clean the basil, the leaves off as you do that. But then you get a true pruning segment. Then it's not going to bolt in and go to blooms, and it'll start sending out a lot more. So you can even have another huge harvest of basil if you do it that way.
And they got about 1.5 pints of pesto, so it really produced. And we really like the way it waters. It is very efficient, just like they said it would. You fill the reservoir up here, and the water trickles down. It got even watering throughout all the different pockets. And now the other thing we like about it is it's on wheels. They're really nice and heavy-duty wheels, and you can spin it so the plants get even light all the way around.
So we wanted to let you all know that at Garden Time, we really did like this product. We think it's very good, it works well, and they really do a good job of what they say they were going to do. So for more information on how you too can get one, go to gardentime.tv. We'll click you over to the website to purchase one for yourself.
Garden Time is brought to you by Portland Nursery, a passion for plants, a nursery for plant people.
Do you want to be green? Do the easy stuff first. Hi, I'm Sarah from Portland Nursery. The U.S. House Energy and Commerce Committee says for every $1 spent on a shade tree, You can save $5 on cooling, blocking the penetrating heat in the summer and allowing the warm rays through in the winter. Dollar for dollar, there's no better energy and money saver than a good, deciduous shade tree. Portland Nursery's professionals can help you make the perfect selection. Portland Nursery, a passion for plants, a nursery for plant people.
Standard TV and Appliance asks, what do you want in new appliances?
Do you want GE's gas, electric, convection, induction, stainless steel, slate, French door, Energy Star, top load, front load, high efficiency, or huge capacity?
I want it all. Yeah, I want everything.
Refresh and save with GE Cafe. Upgrade your kitchen and save up to $1,500 when you buy 4 GE Cafe appliances. Standard TV and Appliance.
Enjoy a summer of art and color. Visit the Oregon Garden for Art in the Garden now through September 30th. See outstanding and inspired art that represents both traditional and modern styles, carefully placed throughout the garden. See the combination of beautiful plants and great art as you stroll the gardens. Just pick up your map at the Visitor Center on your next visit. For details on Art in the Garden and a schedule of all our summer events, go to OregonGarden.org.
The fields are in bloom and looking beautiful.
We welcome everyone to come visit us here at Swan Island Dahlias.
Stop by Swan Island Dahlias in Canby and stroll the 40 acres of blooms. And don't forget the Dahlia Festival the last weekend in August and Labor Day weekend. During the festival, you can see over 400 cut flower displays, enjoy specialty foods, and see flower arranging demonstrations.
Swan Island Dahlias is located in Canby.
Just minutes south of Portland.
Come see us!
Well, I think most of us now know that it is indeed summertime, so we wanted to talk to Lyle from the Bartlett Tree Experts about specific damage that may occur on large specimens like trees and shrubs, and what we can do to notice it or get help, or what we do about it.
Correct. So this time of the year, with this excessive heat that we're experiencing, you're really going to start seeing the conifers changing colors, especially if they had a drought stress last year. You're
Right.
going to see some exaggerated drought stress this year, especially if there was nothing done to mitigate that stress from last year.
And so let's make that clear to people, because I think we get confused a lot, that we think, well, you know, last summer it was a drought, but then it rained as normal. We have a lot of rain, so that took care of that drought. But that's not really correct, is it?
Correct. We have to think of watering, and like a lot of people get confused that, oh my God, we had a lot of rain this winter, and now it's why is my tree droughting? It's like kind of like saying, okay, drink this 6-gallon jug of water in May, you should be good till August.
Right, because you won't be.
You won't be. It leaves. It's
Right.
used up. It's moving. Water's always flowing.
So then what does one do? How do you recognize that maybe it's not just a new struggle, but it might be a past one? What are some tells that they can look for?
So you're going to see some wilting leaves on deciduous trees. You're going to see a tree just won't look as vigor.
Right.
You're going to start seeing color changes. You look up against healthy trees, and you'll see kind of a tinted green on especially conifers and things like that, and the wilting needles and such.
Yeah, they really, and I maybe just over time I've learned it, but I can see when they're almost dull looking.
Right.
There's no vibrancy to them.
Exactly. Yep.
And so then what does it do though? I mean, how do you water enough to get that done?
So that's a great question. So really with mature trees, it's not realistic to bring your hose out and water a Douglas fir. A Douglas fir on a hot day will be taking up around 800 to 1,200 gallons of water.
Oh, wow.
You literally can't stand there in that day and water that tree to have it survive. It's really keeping the vigor up, fertilization. It's really the keeping vigor is the number one thing on conifers.
And on fertilization, it's not like you can mix up some Miracle Grow in a bucket and pour on a tree and think, I've covered this, is it?
Correct. Fertilization is becoming more of a science, and we really have to look at fertilization as soil health care. And so one of the things that we recommend at Bartlett Tree Experts is we're looking at what does a soil need. So we're looking at the science of the soil, and
Right.
we all have different soils. Every property was constructed differently. Soils scraped off, soils added, mulches added, and so we really want to know what we have in the soil. So soil testing is the first step. Once you find out what's in the soil, then you can start identifying what does the plant that you're going to put in that soil need.
Right.
And we build our soil health program based on that aspect. So it's all about the science versus haphazardly throwing fertilizer,
Just on it
nitrogen
randomly, right.
on randomly. So.
And then once you get all that information, there's still a chance though that if you didn't take care of the tree and the shrub before, it just isn't going to make it possible.
Correct. Drought, depending on the longevity of the drought, so you can have drought last year and not done anything, and now you're seeing it severe this year, you may not be able to pull that tree out.
And then what do you guys do when you come out and talk to people? You'll come out and be able to tell what all of this is going on, and you can look and see, we can save this one, we can't save this one, and work with the clients.
Built based on experience and things like that. We can build prescriptions to help mitigate that stress from that through soil health care, through insect disease treatments and things like that. Because one thing that happens when you have stress on a tree, deciduous or conifer, is you have opportunist insects now affecting it.
Right.
So you really you have secondaries coming in that are giving you the notice that the tree is dying, but the actual incident was the drought the previous year.
Yeah. Well, you know, it might be confusing, and to some of us it really is. I know it is to me. So for more information on how you can find out what's really going on, not only in your soil, but in your yard, we suggest you go to gardentime.tv. We will click you over to the Bartlett Tree Expert website, have them come out, take a look, and help them make your garden as beautiful as you want it to be. Lyle, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you.
Garden Time is brought to you by Capital Subaru, your way on the Parkway.
I've been a Capital Subaru customer for 15 years, and one of the main reasons is because they treat me well and I want to shop local. The service department is excellent, and I always feel like I'm taken care of here. In fact, they call me now even after I've driven off the lot to remind me to come in and get my car washed. That's service. One of the reasons why I like coming to Capital Subaru, actually, they have the dog area, and I can just walk my dog around the whole area and we can enjoy the outside. I got it my way on the Parkway.
Welcome to Blooming Junction, where it's easy to connect with nature. At Blooming Junction, you'll find beautiful, healthy plants, good, fresh food, and a place to regain peace and calm in your life. We have an unsurpassed collection of unique and distinctive plants and the expertise to help any gardener be successful. And we feature Blooming Advantage plants. Come check out Blooming Junction for an inspiring experience in the garden or in the kitchen. Blooming Junction, offering quality plants for beautiful gardens.
Little Baja is your source for a whole lot of terracotta and concrete too. From bird baths and benches to Buddhas, bears, and fountains, plus the exclusive Baja chimney. We have an amazing variety of the finest in terracotta and concrete containers. Come check out our selection of statuary for any garden theme or setting. So for something for the garden, deck, or patio, come see us at Little Baja on East Burnside in Portland. Find us on Facebook too.
I am at Smith Berry Barn today with Joelle and Rich, and we have a delicious recipe with peaches. But before we get to the recipe, I want to ask Joelle, so I'm at the store, how do I select a delicious peach?
So the first thing that you want to look at is actually the tip where it has come off of the branch, and you're looking for it to be more golden in color. If you can see these two, one's a little bit more green and the other has a little more golden all the way to the center, we're looking for that golden color. The thing that you don't want to do is squeeze the peach.
Oh, no.
And so if you notice, some of these have squeeze marks on them.
No, they're bruised.
They do bruise very easily. So we prefer that people just gently pick them up, look at that center there, and then pick their peach based on that color.
And it is peach season, and it's a long season.
It is a very long season. So we source locally from several different farms in our area, and we have peaches all the way into mid-September, different varieties throughout the summer.
And so what is the recipe today? Because it looks like it's going to be wonderful.
So today we're going to be grilling peaches and finishing off, them off with a little mascarpone and some honey and a little basil.
Ah, okay. So let's get started.
All right. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to slice the peach in half. And what we're hoping for is that we've chosen a nice freestone peach. And if we twist like that, it comes right off. And if I have my muscles today,
good fingernails.
I don't have good fingernails right now.
Just pop it right off.
I'll do that one a little bit later. So we're going to try one more.
And really, that it doesn't make a difference. You could just the peach is delicious as it is, and will be the same recipe.
It is. So what we're looking for is a medium ripe peach. That one came out much easier. So we're looking for a medium ripe peach. We don't want it to be too overripe or it will collapse a little bit on the grill. We're going to be basting with a little bit of olive oil on the cut side as well as the skin side.
Both sides, okay.
We'll actually be grilling the cut side first. What we're looking for is nice toasty grill marks on that cut side of the peach.
All right, and I'm going to ask Rich. Rich, so what kind of temperature or what kind of a grill do we need these?
Just a normal barbecue grill, and I have it at a medium high. We're going to cook the cut face for about 10 minutes, and then we'll flip them over for 5 to 7, depending on the peach.
And do we have to do anything to the grill especially?
So I've pre-seasoned the grill with olive oil, so I just wipe it all down. We're doing it to the peaches and to the grill just to avoid sticking.
Oh, okay. All right.
So you're just very close. I still have that pit stuck in there I'm going to have to get out.
Okay.
But we are hitting with a little bit of pepper, fresh ground pepper, and then we will be salting with a little bit of our Himalayan pink sea salt.
Oh, and that is really a nice treat to have that special salt.
And then these will go directly onto the grill, face down, just like we talked about, for about 10 minutes on one side and then 5 minutes on the back side. And then we'll bring them out and dress them up.
So we'll be back in just a few minutes and finish up the recipe. So Rich, those peaches came out beautiful. So to recap, how long were they on the grill?
They actually cooked for about 12 minutes on the cut face side and then just a couple minutes on the other.
Well, they are nice, and so now we're going to finish them off and make them yummy. So what is the rest of the recipe?
So the rest of the recipe is a little bit of mascarpone cheese right in the middle there.
And that's kind of like a soft...
It's a softened cream cheese,
Italian
an Italian,
cheese.
yes, it's very tasty. Then we're going to drizzle with a little bit of our honey.
Wow.
And then I like to finish it off with some fresh herbs. We can use anything that you like, really. Mint is really good. Today we're going to be using some fresh basil. And so I have my special herb scissors here.
Great.
And they will create a chiffonade, which is long, thin strips if we cut it whole this way.
Well, they make it even easier to make this recipe.
They do. And then it just comes right off there as a top dressing. And that's it.
Oh, it looks tasty but beautiful too, so that's really great. And you know, at Smith Berry Barn, you can get many of these things to help you make this delicious recipe at home. Peaches are going to be ready until when? They're going to be here?
Mid-September, through mid-September.
So there's a really long time to come out and get peaches and really enjoy the summer with grilling. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey.
Hey, you snooze, you lose.
Oh, here.
Oh, but aren't you sweet?
You know, we just wanted to remind you that this is the time of year when we can enjoy all of that hard work we do in our gardens. So get out there and enjoy the gardens, enjoy your family and friends, and enjoy life.
If you have any other questions about today's show or want to watch it again, please go to gardentime.tv.
We so much thank you for watching the show today, and we will do this again next week, right here on Garden Time.
The proceeding was a paid program of the Guston Creative Group and its sponsors.